I want you to think about first few words that come to your mind when you hear yoga, or maybe short phrases. And if you can just write those things down, this will be really great. So again, what are the first things that come to your mind when someone says yoga, or you read yoga, you think about yoga? So please write them down, and then we'll talk about that. All right. So if you can just start naming those things. So what comes to your mind when you hear yoga? And just raise your hand and say it, and we don't need mic. I will repeat that for our webcast. Yes. Growth. What else? Restore. Flexibility. What else? Relaxation. What else? Clarity. What else? Poses. Joy. What else? Breathing. What else? Strength. What else? Exercising. What else? Balance. What else? Meditation. Say it again. Self-love. What else? Body awareness. Okay, I can tell that we have a bunch of yoga practitioners in this room. Okay, so just think about a time when you have not experienced yoga yet. Or maybe about a friend or a client, who hasn't experienced yoga yet. What kind of stuff then, came to your mind, or maybe, you hear from other people who haven't experienced yoga yet? What other kinds of, associations? Voodoo. What else? Not everybody can do it. Skepticism. Flexibility, you need to be really flexible, right, in order to do yoga. What else?
My answer to that is flexibility is a result, not a requirement.
What else, though, comes to your mind first? Again, think about time before. Yes.
People have aches and pains before yoga.
Say it again.
They have aches and pains in their body they don't recognize before doing yoga.
Okay, so it's difficult. What else? Right, it's not compatible with my religion. What else?
A bunch of navel gazers.
Okay, a bunch of navel gazers.
You need that perfect yoga body.
Yeah, you need special body to do yoga. All right. So the purpose of this exercise is to really see that there is a variety, of different ideas and beliefs that we hold as a society, as a culture about yoga. Yoga has become mainstream enough so that anybody who lives in this country has heard about yoga. Even if they have never been in the yoga class, they already have certain beliefs and ideas about what yoga is and what yoga is not, because they read about it in some book, in some novel. They saw it in the movie. They saw the cover of yoga journal on the magazine rack in the grocery store. Their friend told them about stuff that happened in yoga class and so forth, right? So it's really important when we introduce yoga into our clinical work to talk to our people about their beliefs and ideas about yoga. And of course, if they had any experience, what kind of experience they had with yoga before. So I'm going to talk to you in a moment about specific myths that I hear all the time from clients who haven't experienced yoga yet. Now, that's also important because for trauma survivors, some of their traumas may be connected in some ways to the practice of yoga. So, for example, I have a client, whose mom, abusive mother, was a yoga teacher and an avid yoga practitioner. And so for the client, the practice of yoga and abuse are intimately connected with each other. And so we have to do other things with her in order to really help her rehabilitate her nervous system and her brain. So, what I'm saying, it's really important to explore their experiences and their beliefs about it. Now, I'm going to say a few words about those different myths that I'm talking about, and I'm jumping over a slide here, and I am on page 15, bottom slide. So those are the kinds of things that I hear from people all the time. The first one, yoga is exclusive. It's not for everybody. And different people think of it as being exclusive in different ways. So some people may think that their body is not appropriate, so to speak, for the practice of yoga. Other people may think that they don't have enough money to practice yoga, or their race is wrong in order to practice yoga, or their gender, or what have you. But the idea is that yoga is a collection of difficult poses for young, slim, flexible, white women, okay? And if I don't belong to this group, then yoga is not for me. And you know, I can understand where people are coming from with that. There are definitely kernels of truth in, you know, in this belief and this statement. You know, when I travel around the country and I go into the different yoga studios, it's not uncommon for a yoga studio to have this posh kind of like feeling associated with it. There is certain clothing that is being sold there. People wear certain clothes that come in. You know, it's expensive. It's predominantly white, so people of color may not feel very welcome in the studio. You know, it's predominantly female, so men may feel not very welcome in the studio, and so forth. So I understand. Now, at the same time, you know, traditionally, yoga is really for anybody who is willing to practice. That's the only thing about it. It's a practice that you keep coming back to over and over and over again. It's not about any kind of result or any kind of starting point. There are no requirements that you have to be a certain way, race, size, or anything like that. My teacher says that if you can breathe, you can do yoga. So we all can breathe. We are all in great shape. Now, I wanted to give you an example here. I'm currently working with a client who is a black man in his late 50s. Until approximately 5 years ago, he was able-bodied. 5 years ago, he was in an accident at his workplace, and he got really severe spinal cord injury that left him technically quadriplegic. But because he worked really, really hard in his rehabilitation, he was able to regain some movement in his limbs. So on the good day, he can walk with a walker. On a bad day, he's in a wheelchair. So one day, he and I were talking in session about regrets that he has associated with life before the accident. So for him, everything is split, before the accident and after the accident. So he said to me, you know, you would laugh, he said, because he knows I'm practicing yoga and yoga teacher and all of that. He said, but approximately a couple of years prior to my accident, I really got interested in yoga because I kind of started hearing about it a lot, you know, on media and stuff, and I got really curious about it, and I wanted to come to the yoga class. So I even bought myself a yoga mat and threw it in the back of my car, but I didn't gain courage, you know, to like step into the yoga class. I kind of felt out of place. I'm a man, I'm black, it was difficult for me, so I never went. And now I'm really regretting it because look at me now, he's saying, there is no yoga for me. And I said, well, even though I can understand, you know, you feeling self-conscious, being black, being in the wheelchair, you know, rolling into one of the neighboring yoga studios, I can understand that. However, in session, we can practice yoga together. And he looked at me, and he sometimes is very gruff, you know. He looked at me and he's like, are you out of your mind, doc? Have you even seen me? What are you talking about? And I said, okay, so you can breathe, right? He said, yes. So we started with breathing practices. We did some breathing practices first. Then we started movements in the chair. So we did sun breaths. His sun breaths look nothing like yours or mine, but it doesn't matter, right? What matters is what he experiences in his body. His range of motion has increased dramatically since he started practicing it at home. We started doing chair twists. Now, lately, he was able to do forward fold, standing, and also his latest achievement, so to speak, is Warrior One. When he's standing in between the wall from the one side and this, you know, fixed walker on the other side that he's supported, you know, from both sides. So he is my hero. You know, if he can do yoga, anybody can. So nobody has an excuse. All right. So the second one is that yoga is just exercise. And again, I can understand that because we teach yoga in the gyms. So when I come to my gym, I can do yoga, Zumba, or some kind of weightlifting class. So it makes sense to me that people make an assumption that yoga is just exercise. And a lot of my younger clients, especially health-conscious clients, are saying to me, why would I waste my time with yoga? I already have my exercise routine. I am running or swimming or, weightlifting. So I don't understand. Why do you want me to do that? And so with them, I talk about the fact that yoga is a psycho-spiritual tradition. It's mind, body, spirit kind of practice. It's not about exercising your muscles, even though the secondary effect, so to speak, would be that your muscles will get exercised as you continue, going to yoga classes. But if you think about it in terms of exercise, it's really exercise for the nervous system and brain, more than it is exercise for the cardiovascular system or for the muscles. And this makes sense to people. They say, oh, okay, so I'm going to exercise, my cardiovascular system over here, and I'm going to exercise my brain and my nervous system over here. That works. Now, my favorite one is this last one, is this: yoga is religion. And, I live in the Bible Belt area of the country. It's southeast. And we have lots of fundamental Christian churches in the area that have very negative perspective on yoga. So I hear from people all the time that my minister says yoga is devil's worship, or my pastor says don't even think about practicing yoga because this is evil trying to tempt you. So, those kinds of things. Now, for people who don't want to practice at all, that's fine. It's not a problem. I don't need my clients to practice, right? But for people who want to practice but are really scared because they don't want to go to hell, according to their pastor, there are books like Yoga for Christians that go through, the Christian theology and explain that there is no conflict there, between Christianity and psycho-spiritual tradition of yoga. And it's really helpful. I cannot explain this to the clients, but when they read the book, it really makes sense to them. In addition, very often I talk to the people, think about this yoga and the practices of yoga as something that will help you become better Christian. And I'm serious when I say that. Because, when you practice yoga on a regular basis, you become not only embodied, but really centered and connected and able to connect with the forces outside of you, including God. So you're improving your connection with God, your ability to connect with God as you're moving through those different yogic practices. And this makes sense to people. They're like, oh, okay, so if I can think about it from that perspective, then it is easier for me, to really engage with it. And again, as I'm saying, that if the person is really not willing to practice it for any reason, whether it's religious or any other reason, they don't have to, right? It's just a lot of people want to, but they have some kind of, hookup about that. And this is what we want to explore and help them figure out.